What was it like to live in ancient India? All right, close your eyes. You're standing barefoot on the packed earth of Compasport, a thriving ancient Indian city between 500 BCE and 500 CE. The air smells of wet clay, wood smoke, and turmeric. You hear the distant splash of oars along the river docks, the rhythmic chant of merchants, the squawk of parrots from rooftop cages, and, ah yes, the clunk of sandals over stone. Imagine yourself wandering through the heart of ancient India, a land shimmering with spice-laden air, the glint of gemstones and the murmur of temple bells. Long before the colonialists or the Silk Road caravans rolled in, India was already a world unto itself, a teeming tapestry of bustling markets, holy rivers, intricate rituals, and travelers weaving through pilgrimage routes. Picture it, Buddhist monks in saffron robes debating under banyan trees, Hindu priests lighting oil lamps at dusk along riverbanks, merchants peddling cinnamon, turmeric, and sapphires to traders who had braved desert trails and ocean waves to reach this vibrant, many-layered land. Today we think of India and China as the world's most populated countries, but even millennia ago, the Indian subcontinent stood out for its healthy population, bustling cities, crowded harvest festivals, and packed temple grounds. And when we say India, historically we're speaking of a wide stretch: modern-day India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Maldives, Sri Lanka, and sometimes even Afghanistan. Now, to truly understand life here, we have to rewind, way back, to the Indus Valley Civilization, one of humanity's earliest great urban centers. Think of it as the Mesopotamia of South Asia, flourishing around 3000 BCE in the fertile floodplains along the mighty Indus and the now-vanished Sarasvati River. Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro were the crown jewels of this civilization, massive, bustling cities whose brick ruins still whisper stories from the heart of modern Pakistan. The Indus, fed by Himalayan snowmelt, carved a life-giving artery across the land, just as the Tigris and Euphrates did for the Sumerians. And the Sarasvati. Oh, the Rig Veda sings her praises, calling her majestic and mighty, her waters pure as they journeyed from mountains to ocean. In this lush river valley, the people worked wonders, tall buildings, well-organized streets, and, for their time, sophisticated urban planning. Farmers sowed sesame, rice, peas, dates, and sugarcane. They wove cotton and hemp into textiles, molded fire-baked clay bricks into homes and temples, and channeled wastewater through underground drains, connecting every home and public bath to a city-wide sewage system that would put many later civilizations to shame. Trade flourished. Ships crafted from sturdy timbers carried goods up and down the rivers, out to the Arabian Sea and beyond. Miniature sculptures and fine artwork filled homes and marketplaces, while religious texts and artifacts gave spiritual life to stone and clay. Here, the hunter-gatherer past had been left behind. The Neolithic Revolution was in full bloom. People lived in permanent settlements, organized around family groups, working the land, tending flocks of cows, sheep, and goats, and reaping not one but 2 harvests a year. Surplus food fueled bustling commerce, and with it came communal living, craftsmanship, and the rise of cities whose echoes still ripple through the subcontinent's soul today. So no, India wasn't just a land waiting for discovery. It was a civilization that had already discovered itself, a vibrant, layered world where rivers, bricks, spices, and songs laid the foundation for thousands of years of human story. And that, my friend, is just the beginning. Imagine the people of the Indus Valley, eyes fixed on the horizon, their ships pushing out into the wide blue, bound for Mesopotamia and Egypt. Navigation wasn't just a skill, it was a doorway to far-off worlds, weaving together ancient civilizations through trade, goods, and stories. Locally, farmers and merchants thrived between 7,000 and 3,300 BCE, moving goods and ideas between communities, shaping a world that was peaceful for the most part. Yes, there were probably scuffles, but the archaeological record suggests a remarkable stretch of calm cooperation. Now, step into the realm of myth, where Vedic poetry and philosophy colored the skies. Picture Srila Vyasadeva, the great sage, seated at sunrise by the Sarasvati's shimmering waters, his mind deep in meditation. He gazes into the fabric of time, seeing a world where virtue wanes, where lifespans shorten, not from swords or plagues, but from the slow erosion of dharma, cosmic order. Vedic mythology tells of Vishnu, the great preserver, sleeping on the ocean of milk, his many-headed serpent bed coiling in endless stillness. From his navel blooms a lotus, cradling Brahma, the creator, who spins out the world by day and draws it back by night. And when the final dusk arrives, it is Shiva, the destroyer, who will sweep it all away in fire and dance. These aren't just pretty stories. They form the backbone of the four Vedas, ancient texts passed from tongue to ear for centuries before anyone thought to write them down around 1200 BCE. The Rig Veda, one of these towering works, holds verses of dazzling curiosity. Who really knows, and who can swear how creation came, when or where? Even gods came after creation's day. Only he up there knows, maybe, or perhaps not even he. A poetic shrug at the mysteries of existence, a moment where faith and wonder intermingle. By the 5th century BCE, the ancient Vedic religion had begun to transform, reshaping itself into the roots of what we now call Hinduism. Where the old ways called on people to honor the past, the evolving faith urged seekers to question, to pursue truth. And today, with nearly 1 billion followers worldwide, those ancient values still ripple through Indian life, culture, and identity. But the ancient world wasn't static. Around 1900 BCE, the Indus Valley civilization began to fade. The great cities emptied, the Sarasvati River dwindled. Earthquakes, floods, or perhaps something we've yet to uncover, forced the people to abandon their urban centers. Into this shifting landscape came the Aryans, a nomadic people whose arrival remains one of the great mysteries and debates of history. Did they invade, migrate peacefully, merge and mingle? Some believe they came from the distant steppes, bringing cattle, language and new ideas, settling first in the Kush Mountains, then moving down into the fertile plains along the Indus and Sarasvati. Over thousands of years, they blended with the remaining communities, their traditions, myths and rituals folding into the rich layered tapestry that would become the foundation of Indian civilization. This was a world of movement, mingling and transformation, where rivers shifted, cities rose and fell, gods whispered from the heavens, and humanity, always curious, kept sailing out toward the unknown. Picture it. Two ancient cultures, the settled, sophisticated Sarasvati people and the newly arrived Aryans, blending not through war or conquest, but through something far rarer in history, peaceful mingling. The Sarasvati folk picked up the Aryan language. The Aryans, in turn, eagerly adopted the locals' advanced agricultural know-how. No battle-scarred walls, no smouldering cities, just two worlds fusing into one richer, more complex civilization. Now, sure, the so-called Aryan migration theory sparks plenty of debate. Did the Aryans bring the Vedas fully formed, or did they co-create them alongside the Harappan cultural remnants? Scholars still trade arguments like chess moves, But here's the takeaway: no matter which side you land on, this cultural synthesis left behind a legacy that shaped the spiritual, linguistic, and artistic DNA of India for millennia. Fast forward across time and geography, and we land at one of the great turning points, the arrival of Alexander the Great. 6,000 kilometers away, the Macedonian king set out to carve his name across the world map. After Persia fell, his hungry gaze turned east to the fractured kingdoms and city-states of India. With their political divisions, they seemed ripe for picking, and Alexander swept through city after city with astonishing speed. But conquest has its limits. Alexander's exhausted, battle-weary army finally balked, forcing the young emperor to retreat. Though his men returned west, they didn't leave India untouched. The Greek artistic and cultural fingerprints they left behind still shimmer in the Gandhara region's fusion of Hellenistic and Indian styles: curly-haired Buddhas, Greek-style drapery on stone reliefs, and coin designs blending east and west. Seizing the moment left by the retreating Greeks was Chandragupta Maurya, a brilliant, determined leader guided by his sharp-minded mentor, Vishnugupta Chanakya. In 322 BCE, Chandragupta stormed and captured the Nanda Empire's capital, Pataliputra, laying the foundation for the mighty Mauryan Empire. But he didn't stop there. He launched campaign after campaign, pushing back the last Macedonian strongholds, defeating even Seleucus, Alexander's former general, who had expected to reclaim Indian lands only to be forced into a treaty with the formidable Mauryans. Under Mauryan rule, India flourished. Trade routes pulsed with goods moving to and from China, Sumatra, Persia, Ceylon, modern Sri Lanka, and the distant Mediterranean. Silks, spices, and precious stones flowed outward. Exotic treasures, knowledge, and culture flowed in. The population swelled. Somewhere between 15 to 30 million souls, and the empire itself divided into 4 well-organized provinces, each managed with bureaucratic precision. Cities governed themselves through councils split into 6 neat committees, one for wages and goods, another to welcome foreign dignitaries, one for record-keeping, one to track manufacturing, one to regulate trade, and another to collect taxes. A fine-tuned civic machine humming with purpose. And amid all this worldly power, in a quiet corner of India, a prince-turned-wanderer named Siddhartha Gautama sat under a tree, touched enlightenment, and became the Buddha. At first, his quiet revolution went unnoticed, but everything changed under Emperor Ashoka, the Mauryan sovereign, who, after years of bloody conquest, embraced Buddhism and broadcast its message across India and beyond, turning the Buddha into a household name and laying the groundwork for one of the most enduring spiritual legacies on earth. From peaceful cultural fusion to the clashing of empires, from bustling trade cities to the serene stillness of meditation, this was ancient India, layered, vibrant, and utterly unforgettable. Ashoka, once a fearsome conqueror, sat alone after the blood-soaked fields of Kalinga had fallen silent. The cost of victory, 150,000 Kalinga dead, 100,000 of his own Mauryan soldiers lost, crushed his heart. This was no triumph. It was a soul-shattering reckoning. So the emperor turned his back on war, swore off conquest, and walked straight into the embrace of Dharma. Now, Dharma, it's tricky to explain. People often slap the label religion on it, but that's a Western shortcut that misses the mark. In India, Dharma isn't just belief, it's the very architecture of life. Where religion is an aspect, Dharma is the blueprint. It shapes duty, morality, ethics, relationships, and how you move through the world. For Ashoka, the teachings of Buddha, though the man had been gone for over 2 centuries, offered a new path. Inspired, Ashoka poured enormous resources into spreading Buddhist philosophy, carving edicts into stone pillars, funding stupas, and dispatching monks across India and beyond, from Sri Lanka to Central Asia. Where swords once ruled, now words and compassion travelled. To live in ancient India was to live inside a tapestry woven with myth, ritual, and cosmic balance. You didn't just go about your day, you lived according to vast storied traditions, juggling the legends of gods and sages, threading your personal duty into a larger moral and spiritual framework. And if you want to dive deeper, to walk those old streets, feel the pulse of the Indus Valley, hear the clash of Alexander's armies, or step into the flowering brilliance of the Mauryan Empire, well, the stories are waiting. Grab the books, the audiobooks, the mythology bundles, because ancient India isn't just a chapter in history, it's a world still whispering across time, ready to pull you in. What was it like to date in ancient India? Underscore the surprising truth. All right, buckle up. We're diving headfirst into the love lives of ancient Indians, and let me tell you, it's not all stoic sages and shy glances behind veils. Nope. Get ready for tavern flirtations, garden strolls, and yes, even some classic friend zone drama. First, forget the myth that ancient Indian society kept men and women apart like oil and water. Mixed gender friend groups were totally normal. Imagine hanging out at a big social gathering, friends of friends laughing together, sipping drinks, sharing gossip, and you spotting someone across the circle who makes your stomach flip. You've just stepped into a live-action version of the Kama Sutra's social playbook. And hey, if you're a student, your odds just shot up. In traditional schools, male and female students shared quarters, making secret romances almost inevitable. Picture the sneaky glances, the whispered jokes, the little gifts slipped under the study mat. There's even a story in the Katha Sarit Sagra of lovers reminiscing about the sparks that first flew between them, back when they were both young monastics in training, Buddhist nun and monk, hearts beating a little too loudly during meditation. But maybe you're out of school and tired of waiting for your friends to introduce you to someone new. No problem. Grab your best tunic, comb your hair, and hit the town. According to the Kama Sutra, public spaces are prime flirting grounds. Stroll through the park, linger near the temple, browse the town square or marketplace, not just for goods, but for glances, smiles, and conversation starters. Let her notice your noble bearing, the confidence in your step, the hint of a smile you throw her way. Let curiosity do its quiet magic. And don't underestimate taverns. Yes, ancient taverns were places where different groups mingled freely, including women, laughter, music, drink games. It's the perfect setup for a chance encounter. Festivals, even better. Picture crowds of young men and women dancing, singing, playing, and celebrating. The atmosphere hums with energy and possibility, with every festival, game, or song a chance to lock eyes, share a laugh, or brush hands. So, you've caught someone's eye. Now what? Ancient Indians, just like you, knew that attraction wasn't only about who you were, but how you presented yourself. Good hygiene, non-negotiable, elegant, well-fitted clothing. Yes, please. Tasteful jewelry, a touch of decorative henna, maybe a fragrant oil dabbed behind the ears, just enough to be alluring, not overwhelming. Basically, think effortlessly attractive, not trying too hard. And if you're still worried about falling into the dreaded friend zone, well, the Kama Sutra has advice for that too. Be clear about your intentions. Ancient Indians knew what we often forget. You can't just wait and hope. You have to show you're interested or risk becoming that eternal dear friend in someone's life story. So, whether you're wandering through Compass Port's markets, studying under a banyan tree, or raising a cup in a bustling tavern, remember, love, longing, and connection are as old as history itself. And when it comes to flirting like an ancient Indian, you're not just chasing romance, you're stepping into a timeless human adventure. All right, lovebirds, listen up. If you want to master the ancient Indian art of seduction, you're going to need more than flashy clothes or a dreamy smile. We're talking emotional intelligence, cultural finesse, and yes, just the right amount of scented oil. Start by anointing yourself, literally. A touch of fragrant oil on your skin, a few well-chosen ornaments, not too gaudy, just tasteful enough to whisper, "I know how to care for myself." Presentation matters, but here's the kicker. It's not just about looks. Ancient Indian women lit up at heartfelt compliments, not just "you're beautiful," though sure that doesn't hurt, but "you're clever." "Your generosity inspires me. You make everyone around you laugh." Her heart blooms when her mind and spirit are noticed. And ladies, here's your secret weapon. Praise him, his virtues, his achievements, his character. Whisper a kind word about your lover even to others, and you'll touch his heart more deeply than 100 stolen caresses. And what really seals the deal? Intellectual and cultural sophistication. Both men and women were expected to bring more to the table than just charm. Poetry, philosophy, music, painting. The 64 arts weren't just hobbies, they were the keys to capturing admiration. He or she who can debate timeless truths, craft a clever verse, or play a haunting melody. That's the person everyone watches when they enter a room, no matter their physical looks. But don't forget to be fun. Humor, light teasing, riddles, playful banter, these weren't trivial. They were essential. Laughter greases the wheels of intimacy, making conversations sparkle and hearts open. You want to charm someone? Make them laugh. Make them want to linger. Now, gifts. Oh, the art of gifts. For men wooing women, thoughtful tokens mattered. Fresh flowers, delicate ornaments, secret messages inked on palm leaves, revealed only under sunlight. Yes, ancient invisible ink. Bal leaves, smeared with fragrant oils or imprinted with a lover's playful bite, were exchanged like intimate, scented love notes. In some playful rituals, women would test their lover's precision by asking them to fold perfect bowl leaves, a delicate little challenge of skill and patience. But here's the golden rule that ancient texts hammered home: respect and patience. Do not rush or pressure. Let affection grow naturally, like a flower opening in the sun. Push too hard and you're unworthy of her trust. Instead, read her nature, whether she's bold, shy, or somewhere in between, and tailor your approach with sensitivity and care. And ladies, don't be shy. Ancient Indian men loved when women took the lead. A confident, graceful woman wielded magnetic power, able to steal the attention of a room even from the mightiest warrior. Final tip from the ancients: please, don't monopolize the conversation. If you spend the whole evening droning on about your sports victories or personal adventures, you're just wasting time. The dance of seduction is a duet, not a monologue. So there you have it. Seduction 101, ancient Indian style. A little fragrance, a lot of heart, sharp wit, thoughtful gestures, and above all, patience and respect. History, it turns out, knew romance long before we thought we invented it. Our love in ancient India, messy, thrilling, and oh so relatable. Let's talk about how to flirt, love, test, and even break up like someone straight out of a Sanskrit drama. First off, Don't be that guy who traps his date with an endless monologue about his gym routine, or the latest tofu recipes for that matter. You want to win someone over? Light teasing works wonders. Mimic her words lightly, feign a little misunderstanding, joke around. As one old line goes, "We'll go to hell, at least it'll be together." That's playful banter she'll remember, not a sermon. When you're around your crush, give them your proper attention. If you're too wrapped up in work, lectures, or endless projects, don't be surprised if your partner sighs, "I can flirt all I like, but I'm not getting any tonight." Romantic success needs presence, not just physical proximity. Now don't be too cautious. As one ancient text cheekily puts it, love is the love God's own arrow, the latest model never seen before. If you get struck, yes, it'll sting, but if you don't take the risk, are you really living? And oh, those small delicious touches. You don't need grand gestures. Leaning in during a conversation to whisper something you could have said aloud. Perfect. Let your lips brush lightly. Make her heart race a little. But remember, gentle, not aggressive. Approach like a breeze, not a storm. The heart, especially a woman's heart, needs careful, respectful wooing. Pay attention to her cues. Does she look at you often, smile faintly, adjust her jewelry when you're near? That's her signaling interest. When she laughs and teases back, she's ready for deeper companionship. And here's the surprising part. You don't have to rush into marriage. Premarital emotional and physical intimacy wasn't taboo. It was part of the culture. In Sukumara literature, the concept of kivu, clandestine love, explores how lovers connected before formal vows. The Kama Sutra even suggests women test physical and emotional compatibility before tying the knot. How progressive is that? Couples were encouraged to spend meaningful time together, studying each other's habits, temperaments, and pleasures. Does she enjoy music and poetry? Can she hold an engaging conversation? Is she graceful in movement? Compatibility mattered, and people took the time to check before locking into a lifelong bond. And not all lovers aimed for marriage. Many ancient texts acknowledge long-term live-in relationships as perfectly valid, grounded in mutual affection without formal vows. Now, if things don't work out, no shame. Ancient Indians understood breakups were part of love too. Big relationship killers, neglecting grooming, falling into monotonous routines, losing the spark. The advice? Keep things fresh. Plan romantic outings, surprise each other, mix things up to avoid becoming predictable and dull. So next time you're tempted to imagine ancient love as stiff or joyless, remember, they navigated love, longing, teasing, heartbreak, and passion just like we do, sometimes with more playfulness, more intention, and a whole lot more poetry. Ah, heartbreak. The one thing even ancient Indian lovers couldn't escape, but they sure had some graceful ways to handle it. Let's say things aren't going well. Maybe you've been skipping the nature walks, avoiding those shared musical nights, or ignoring your partner's feelings. Maybe you've smothered them with too much attention, or worse, starved them of it. Either way, you both know the writings on the wall. What do? The old texts are clear. Break up with kindness, gradually ease out of the relationship, dial back emotional intimacy, spend less time on shared activities, and gently let the closeness slip away. It's not about ghosting, it's about giving space. And if you're truly wise, help create situations where your soon-to-be ex can meet new suitors, ensuring they have a fair shot at future happiness. But above all, be gentle. No harsh words, no bitter fights. The affection you once shared should fade with dignity, not collapse into cruelty or hate. After all, love once given deserves a soft landing. Why is this so important? Because letting a relationship stagnate wasn't just emotionally risky, it carried social risks too. Ancient texts like Bhatha Naga warn that neglected wives or couples trapped in sexual mismatch were likely to look outside their marriage for companionship. A wise lover, or would-be lover, approached such situations carefully, offering solace and affection, but always keeping things discreet. Hidden glances, whispered words, secret rendezvous far from prying eyes, these were the tools of delicate liaisons. On the flip side, texts like the Arthashastra took a no-nonsense legalistic view. Yes, adultery was common, it admitted, but it also came with penalties, sometimes harsh ones. Fortunately, remedies like formal divorce existed, giving couples a legitimate escape hatch when things couldn't be patched up. So there you have it. Even 2,000 years ago, breakups were tricky, love triangles were messy, and navigating the end of a relationship required grace, patience, and a little strategic wisdom. Ancient hearts beat with the same longings, mistakes, and recoveries we know today. And if you can learn anything from them, it's that letting go well is as important as falling in love in the first place. What did ancient Indian cities actually look like? All right, close your eyes. You're standing barefoot on the packed earth of Compasport, a thriving ancient Indian city between 500 BCE and 500 CE. The air smells of wet clay, wood smoke, and turmeric. You hear the distant splash of oars along the river docks, the rhythmic chant of merchants, the squawk of parrots from rooftop cages, and, ah yes, the clunk of sandals over stone. But first, let's talk about where all this went. You might wonder, why don't we see ancient Indian cities the way we see Rome's marble ruins? Well, here's the dirty little secret. It's because Indian cities were built to live, not just to last. While Romans were stacking marble and concrete, ancient Indians crafted homes, markets, arenas, and even public baths with wood, mud brick, bamboo, and stucco. Gorgeous, yes. Durable, not so much. These materials, if left unloved, were no match for time, rain, termites, or fire, and the few stone buildings, often dismantled and recycled into new temples, forts, or simply ground into road gravel. All right, back to Compasport. Let's start where everybody needs to go, the toilet. And trust me, you'll be impressed. The toilets here are no smelly pits. They're terracotta-lined, cleverly sloped into brickwork channels connected to a city-wide sewage system. Covered drains run along major streets, whispering away waste to nearby rivers. You're walking over them right now, and you don't even smell a thing. Step into the bustling marketplace, clay jars brimming with ghee and lentils, bolts of indigo-dyed cloth, baskets of mangoes and betel nuts, the air rich with cardamom and spiced tea. Merchants holler their wares under broad reed canopies. Children dart between stalls, snatching honeyed treats. You hear the slap of a potter's wheel nearby and the rhythmic clang from the blacksmith's forge. Look up and you'll see homes stacked like elaborate cakes, flat-roofed, 2 stories, carved balconies, painted walls. A family sits on the rooftop under an awning, eating their midday meal of rice, lentils, and pickles. Down below, a weaver hums to himself as his shuttle races through the loom. Beyond the homes, temples rise, not towering spires, but graceful stone structures, carved with stories of gods and men. Monasteries cluster nearby, with saffron-robed monks debating philosophy in the courtyards, while students trace Sanskrit letters on palm leaf manuscripts. Walk a bit further, and you reach the river. Docks lined with boats, their sails furled, waiting to carry spices, cloth, and ivory to distant lands. Labourers haul crates, elephants in painted harnesses sway past, pulling carts. Women gather by the water, washing clothes on smooth stones, gossiping, laughing, sometimes breaking into song. Hospitals and libraries. Oh yes, they're here. Buddhist monasteries often double as hospitals, offering care not just for monks but lay people too. And the libraries? Wooden shelves packed with palm leaf scrolls filled with treatises on medicine, astronomy, law, and poetry. And everywhere you go, the soundscape wraps you up. Temple bells, the creak of bullock carts, the rhythmic chanting from a household puja, the bark of market dogs, the rush of monsoon rain off terracotta roofs. This, my friend, is Compassport, not a lost, faceless ruin, but a living, breathing city where the past pulses with the heartbeat of everyday people. All right, here we go. Let me take you straight into the heartbeat of ancient Indian city life. You wake up to the soft splash of water being poured over stone. Your family's private bathing platform, a smooth, slightly raised slab of terracotta, glistens in the morning light. Water drains gently into the brick-lined channels beneath the house, whisked away by the city's sewage system. Yes, you've got plumbing, and yes, you've got toilets. Public ones too, near the marketplace and the grand public buildings, because not everyone has a fancy home setup. And let me tell you, these aren't stinky pits in the ground. We're talking well-planned, terracotta-lined fixtures connected to an advanced drainage system that rivals anything the Romans dreamed up. Waste flows into covered brick drains, sloping toward the river or other water bodies, washing it away and diluting it safely, because nobody wants to drink their own garbage.
But speaking of garbage, you want to know how a city this big, this busy, avoids drowning in its own filth? Officials, that's how. City workers sweep the streets, remove waste, haul it to brick-lined dumping pits at the city outskirts where it's either composted, burned, or buried. It's not a free-for-all either. If you leave trash outside your shop or home, you can expect a fine. Cleanliness is everybody's job. And water, oh, the water. Wells dot the neighbourhoods, communal ones for most folks, private ones tucked into the courtyards of larger homes with clever pulley systems to lift water. But that's just the start. Step wells, carved like inverted palaces, store rainwater and give you cool, shaded spaces to gather gossip and escape the heat. These aren't just utilitarian structures. They're architectural wonders with ornate carvings, stone pavilions and wide staircases that descend to the waterline. The water itself, carefully filtered, boiled for safety, poured through cloth or sand to strain out impurities. Public spouts and fountains stand along major streets and marketplaces, their stone faces often carved with floral motifs or divine figures. You can dip a jug, fill your pot, or splash your face as you pass by. Step back and look at the neighbourhoods themselves, and you'll see that they hum with order. The layout is no accident. Texts like the Manasara and Vastu Shastra guide the arrangement of houses, temples, streets, and markets, creating a rhythm of life that's both spiritual and practical. Narrow lanes snake between courtyard houses. Merchants cluster near main roads. Artisan quarters bustle with weavers, potters, and metal workers. Sacred spaces bloom at street corners and busy crossings.
By now, the sun is high, the markets are alive, and the stone-paved streets of Compassport gleam under the weight of a city perfectly choreographed, clean, watered, and pulsing with life. You take a breath, taste the spice in the air, and realize you're not just walking through an ancient city. You're walking through the living soul of a civilization. You stroll through Compassport, feeling the city's rhythm beneath your feet. And let me tell you, it's not some chaotic sprawl. It's beautifully, deliberately arranged, humming with a quiet brilliance. Picture this: wide, straight streets, lined with orderly rows of homes branching into distinct neighborhoods. Thanks to Mastan, a Greek diplomat visiting Pataliputra, we know the urban planners weren't winging it. The city was divided into quarters, merchants here, artisans there, nobles over yonder, each with its own pulse, its own flavor, at the heart of every neighborhood. Public spaces, little temples, gymnasiums, leafy gardens, courtyards echoing with laughter, and meeting halls buzzing with gossip and debate. Everything placed to be just a short walk away, making the whole city feel like one big, well-organized family. Now let's step into the houses, the real bones of the city. In the dry, dusty heartlands, homes are sturdy, built of stone or brick, flat-roofed, with smooth plastered walls to keep the heat out. On the lush, rain-drenched coasts, they transform, made from bamboo, wood, and terracotta, their sloping roofs expertly channeling the monsoon rains. But the beating heart of nearly every home, the courtyard. Imagine it. An open-air space right at the center, flooded with sunlight, swirling with fresh air, alive with the sounds of children playing, women pounding spices, and elders weaving garlands. Rooms ring this courtyard in a careful dance of privacy and openness. Public reception areas up front, intimate family rooms tucked away at the back. Step into a wealthy home, and it only gets grander. Multiple courtyards, fountains bubbling serenely, sculptures catching the light, murals blooming across the walls, and woodwork so intricate you could get lost tracing its patterns.
And when the sun dips low and the city's shadows lengthen, Compass Port's entertainment scene lights up. Near the palace, or city centre, stand the great theatres, crafted with the precision of the Natya Shastra. Raised stages with elegant backdrops, semicircular seating wrapping the performers in a cocoon of eager eyes, and acoustics designed so even the faintest whisper carries to the back row. Thousands gather, laughing, gasping, losing themselves in a world of music and drama. Craving a wilder night, Compass Port doesn't disappoint. Slip through the elaborately carved gateways of the red light district, a neon blaze of the ancient world. Taverns buzz with drinkers, dice clatter in gambling halls, and salons shimmer with music, silk, and soft laughter. Courtesans entertain behind carved screens, their chambers adorned with luxurious cushions, instruments, and paintings. For the thrill seekers, fighting pits roar with excitement as wrestlers and boxers clash before roaring crowds, terraced stands pulsing with energy. Out at the racetracks, chariots thunder past in clouds of dust, horses gallop neck and neck, and spectators lean over low walls shouting, waving, living for the rush. And then there's the gymnasium, part sports club, part philosopher's corner, part political salon. Here men train under the sun, debate under the stars, and weave the fabric of city life in every sweaty handshake and whispered alliance. Compass Port isn't just a city, it's a living, breathing stage, a place where architecture, society, and human spirit intertwine. It's not just where people survive, it's where they live, brilliantly, fully, gloriously. You wander into Compass Port's town square and it hits you. This place is alive. The square is broad, stone-paved and flanked by towering gateways, statues glinting in the sun, and slender pillars etched with stories of gods and kings. Under the shade of carefully planted trees, people mingle, merchants, monks, nobles, farmers, gossiping, debating, laughing.
One corner hosts a public meeting, another bursts into applause as a street performer juggles flaming torches. Meanwhile, rows of pop-up market stalls crowd the center, the air thick with the smell of spices, incense, and frying sweets. Shoppers haggle with merchants over bolts of silk, baskets of mangoes, and polished bronze ornaments. Beyond the square, you slip into the city's gardens and parks, where the bustle softens into birdsong and rustling leaves. Xuanzang, the Chinese monk who once visited, wasn't exaggerating. Scholars really do stroll these paths, deep in philosophical debate. Elaborate fountains burble under the shade of flowering trees, pavilions offer quiet corners for reading or resting, and trimmed lawns open up into spaces for festivals, dances, and celebrations. Let's talk commerce. The city's market districts are the beating heart of its economy. Open-air courtyards are packed with wooden stalls, the ground paved smooth for heavy crowds. Guards keep watch at the exits, not just for security, but to collect tolls on goods flowing in and out. Walk through, and you'll find neatly divided sections, one for textiles, one for pottery, another buzzing with metalworkers displaying glittering tools and weapons. And if a buyer and seller squabble over a price, no worries. Special marketplace courts stand nearby, ready to settle disputes before things get messy. Beyond the markets lie the industrial zones. Picture rows of workshops, potters at their wheels, blacksmiths hammering at anvils, weavers at looms, all under the eye of powerful artisan guilds. These guilds don't just set prices and standards, they build halls to meet, strategize, and safeguard their trades. Even here, surrounded by the clatter of labor, beauty sneaks in. Decorative carvings on doorways, painted symbols above shop entrances, little flourishes that remind you aesthetics matter. And healthcare? Oh yes, the city's got you covered. Hospitals funded by kings and wealthy patrons stand ready with multiple wards, one for surgical patients, one for infectious diseases, one for general care. Courtyards let in fresh air. Verandas offer shade. Students in training bustle around, learning under the sharp eyes of seasoned physicians. Need something simpler? Head to the local clinic or herbal dispensary, where Ayurvedic practitioners offer outpatient care with poultices, herbs, and advice. Got a tricky case? Larger cities even boast surgical centers, where the legendary physician Sushruta's techniques, yes, including cataract surgeries and nose reconstructions, are practiced with precision. This isn't just a city, it's a marvel of human organization, pulsing with trade, conversation, laughter, healing, and the quiet hum of people building and rebuilding life, one stone, one stitch, one breath at a time. Ah, Compass Port. It just keeps surprising you, doesn't it? Imagine strolling into the heart of the city, where free medical care is available to everyone. Yes, everyone. Whether you're a wealthy merchant in silk robes or a street sweeper in dusty sandals, you can walk into a clinic or hospital and get treated. Megasthenes, that Greek ambassador visiting from a land where wealth bought you everything, including survival, found it downright shocking. Here, healing wasn't for sale. It was a civic duty, funded by kings, nobles, and temple patrons. But Compass Port doesn't stop at healing bodies. It nourishes minds too. By the late 7th century BCE, large educational institutions have sprung up. Think Takshashila, Nalanda, names that would echo across India, Central Asia, China, and Southeast Asia. These aren't single, grand university buildings. Nope, they're sprawling networks of colleges, schools, lecture halls, libraries, and student dormitories scattered across the city, each specializing in something dazzling: medicine, law, mathematics, military science, the arts. Foreign students come here, their scrolls tucked under arm, eager to learn. If formal education's not your thing, Compass Port's got your back. Public libraries, often attached to temples, palaces, or civic buildings, open their doors to scholars and ordinary folk alike. Step inside and you'll find tall, airy rooms lined with carefully stored palm leaf and bark manuscripts, reading corners shaded by carved pillars, and open courtyards where animated group debates spill late into the night. Swing by the government quarters and the picture changes again. Palaces aren't just royal lounges, they're bustling administrative centres. In Pataliputra, the palace is a wooden wonder, gleaming with polished surfaces, golden inlays and intricate carvings. Massive gateways and sweeping courtyards hammer home the king's authority. Inside, you'll find everything. The treasury, the assembly hall, royal courts where civil and criminal disputes are sorted out, judges thundering from the bench. But governance doesn't end there. Brick and stone office buildings handle the endless grind of taxes, trade rules, and bureaucratic sprawl, storing sensitive scrolls in cool, dry archives, while officials wheel and deal in spacious chambers. Religion pulses at the heart of Compasport. Temples, stupas, and monasteries rise in every district, not just sacred spaces, but social, educational, and economic powerhouses. Each complex boasts its own elegant blueprint: soaring towers, carved shrines, ritual halls, leafy courtyards, shaded walkways. These aren't built on a whim. Civic leaders and merchant guilds pour resources into these projects, knowing they'll draw pilgrims, traders, craftsmen, and donors. Temples own land, employ locals, fund schools, and spin the economic gears of the city as much as the spiritual ones. And when you're tired, hungry, or just craving something indulgent, Compasport's food scene awaits. Tavern doors swing open onto streets humming with laughter and the clink of cups. Communal dining halls serve stews, curries, spiced breads, and imported delicacies from far corners of the subcontinent. The layouts are cozy, open-fronted designs, low tables, soft cushions, and spaces designed for relaxed group meals. You don't just eat here, you connect, share stories, hatch plans, maybe even fall in love under flickering lamplight. This isn't just a city. It's a living organism feeding its people's bodies, minds, and souls. Every corner hums with purpose, every space holds a role, and you, dear traveler, are right in the middle of its magnificent, bustling embrace.
You step into Compasport, and the smell of roasting lentil cakes and spiced stews hits you first. Food and drink aren't just survival here, they're the lifeblood of social life. Taverns, eateries, and drink houses cluster near the busy marketplaces, hum along entertainment streets, and glow with laughter and chatter deep into the night. You duck into one, find low tables and soft cushions, the clink of terracotta cups, the hiss of frying oil, and the steady hum of conversations. Business deals, family gossip, lovers whispering in corners. And if you're a traveller arriving through the grand city gates, no problem. Rest houses, thoughtfully built near the entrances, open their courtyards to you. Dormitory beds, communal meals, bathing facilities, all there, waiting. The Chinese monk Faxian himself described how these well-kept traveller shelters offered a warm welcome, whether you were a wandering pilgrim or a spice merchant hauling goods from afar. But don't think Compasport thrives on hospitality and curry puffs alone. Its streets, paved with stone and gravel, carry the heavy rattle of chariots, ox carts, and foot traffic. Major roads are wide, meticulously maintained, built to withstand weather, war, and wear. Mastan the Greek couldn't help but marvel at the sheer volume of carts and chariots barreling through. But a rich city draws sharp eyes. That's why Compasport stands behind mighty fortifications. Towering stone or brick walls encircle the city, reinforced with bastions where sharp-eyed archers keep watch. Double-layered defences mean outer and inner walls, all dotted with narrow, spiked gates, designed to bottleneck invading forces, making them easy pickings for defenders. Iron-studded doors and hidden trap mechanisms, spike pits, concealed archers, narrow murder holes turn every gate into a deadly funnel. And just in case, secret tunnels snake under the walls, ready for surprise counterattacks or quiet escapes when things turn grim. Inside the city, garrisons keep the streets secure, stationed at key junctions and plazas. Watchtowers rise above the skyline, giving soldiers a sweeping view of the lands beyond. Policing isn't a haphazard affair either. Government officers patrol day and night, working alongside local guilds and community leaders to keep the peace, investigate crimes and protect the people. And you know what keeps Compasport from burning to the ground? Fire brigades. That's right. Inspired by the Arthur Shastra, fire teams stand ready with buckets, wet blankets and sand stationed near public wells placed strategically across the city for emergencies. One spark in a city thick with wooden buildings could mean disaster, but here there's always a plan.
So, there you have it. Compasport, a living, breathing ancient Indian megacity built from scratch, a place of thriving trade, social buzz, artistic beauty, spiritual depth, fierce defense, and sharp governance. And now, you know it as more than just a name. You can walk its streets, hear its heartbeat, and feel the ancient world come alive beneath your feet. you.